right? So thank you very much for coming. For those of you who don't know, I'm Decker Plain. I'm city administrator. I think I know some of you. And I was chief of police 35 years ago, 36 years ago, whenever I hired Keith as a police officer, and he's turned out okay. So actually, I think I was still chief, but I think acting chief Tom Lemons actually hired him, but it's neither here nor there. Both of us are still here, and our judgments still are being questioned. So before we start, and I may not have gotten everybody that was here, but from our department, Chief Phil Reddington is here, back in the back like he was yesterday. Tom Lemons was captain. Rusty Van Wetzige, where you at, Russ? Russ over here, appreciate Russ. Tom Mack, Jim Gibney, Greg Adamson, who's also a council member, so he'll get introduced twice. Brad Levitzow, retired Sheriff Denny Connor, and retired Chief Paul Sikorsky from Davenport. And I know there's other retirees, but if I've screwed that up, I apologize, and you can come chastise me later. I'm just going to tell you two things about Keith that start the ball rolling. He was valedictorian of his high school class in Sherrard, and he graduated summa cum laude from Illinois State with his degree, so his first degree. So that just shows you the ultimate achiever that we hired in the first place. And then Chief Scott, who we swore in yesterday, who will replace Keith, is going to go into his bio, which will take an hour and a half, so everybody grab a water while we're at it. And then I thought I would have the mayor say a few words first. Then we'll have Doug make the presentation from the city and or from the police department. I'll make a presentation from the city, and that'll do it. So, and we're staying close to this mic because we caught a lot of crap yesterday that all the people in the back couldn't hear anything. Matt, can you hear us back there?
Loud and clear.
Perfect. So I just think we had weak voices yesterday because I'm sure mine would have carried. So, Your Honor, you're up.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming here to celebrate Chief Kimball and his accomplishments over his 35 or so years at the Bettendorf Police Department. I'm pleased to introduce to you several council members who are with us: Lisa Brown, Jerry Sexer, Frank Baden, Greg Adamson, and Scott Nauman. So let's give them a round of applause. I want to thank council for the continued support of our public safety, not only the police department, but also the fire department, who's also very well represented here. And thanks to the distinguished guests that we have from other departments who are here to celebrate Keith. Your presence means a lot to us, so thank you very much. This is a community. We work together and police together as a community, as we keep being told by not only our folks, but yours. And to see you here to support makes a whole lot of sense, and we're very, very pleased that you're here. We hope to be able to support you all in the same way. So with that, thank you for being here. Congratulations, Chief. We're very proud of the things that you've done, not only in the police department, but in our community. You've got lots of folks here that represent other parts of our community that help folks who need the help, and you've been somebody who's continued to do that for us on our behalf for your whole career. So thank you for your work with braking traffic and all the other things you do. Nicole's here with Family Resources. The great things that you were able to accomplish on behalf of the police department show well for our community. So for that, thank you. If you haven't seen it, check out the mayor's message.
If you haven't seen the mayor's message last Friday with the mayor and Keith, these are two very emotional men, and at the end, they both choked up, and it'll stir your heart. From somebody who tries to make it neutral, it's like, oh, don't do that in the mayor's message, for God's sakes. But they both wear their hearts on their sleeves, and it was wonderful. So watch that. I'm going to have Andrea come up first.
Perfect.
So from the United States Attorney's Office, please welcome Andrea Glasgow, who's going to make a presentation as well.
Doug was going to go first. Everyone stopped listening by the time I was up here. But my name is Andrea Glasgow from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Davenport. Rich Westfall, our U.S. Attorney, hoped he could be here, but he's been summoned, so he had to go. So on behalf of the United States Department of Justice, the United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of Iowa, to Keith Kimball, with the Bettendorf Police Department from January 15th, 1990 to April 30th, 2025, in recognition of more than 35 years of service with the Bettendorf Police Department. The United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Iowa wishes to extend its deepest appreciation for your dedicated service and steadfast commitment to the pursuit of justice. Throughout your career, you have demonstrated profound leadership, investigative skill, and a steadfast commitment to the service of the citizens of Bettendorf. This community is no doubt a better and safer place because of your service. Your commitment to partnering with the United States Attorney's Office has been an invaluable part of our success. On behalf of the people of the Southern District of Iowa, we thank you. On behalf of Richard Westfall, United States Attorney.
Real quick, I appreciate so much. You
We're
know,
talking to the mic.
oh, sorry. Yep. All right.
All
You guys hear me back there? All right. You know, as I've said before, it is about relationships, but the one thing, I can't speak for other parts of the United States, but our local U.S. Attorney's Office, both on the Illinois side and Iowa side, have always been really good to work with. They are willing to take our cases that start at a local level. It really means a lot. You know, I know Rich could be here. I know he would. You know, Rich served many years here in the Davenport office in Olders Hall. He's now in the Des Moines area, and it's nice to see people like Andrea, you know, come up, and now she's leading the office, and you know, always willing and able to listen to our cases and take the important ones forward with that. And also, I'm going to acknowledge Cliff Cronk, retired U.S. Attorney. I just saw him pop in the door. So thanks, Andrea. Thanks, Cliff, for all your support over the years, and not just with me in my earlier career, but with Doug Scott, because I know Doug worked a lot with you and just our other officers. And I know we have active cases going on now, so this means a lot. Thank you.
We also wanted to acknowledge former State Senator Maggie Tinsman's here. She's the head of Braking Traffic, and Keith and Maggie have worked together on Braking Traffic for the last 8 years strong, and before that. So thanks, Maggie, for coming. So I'm going to turn it over to Chief Scott. For those of you that weren't here yesterday, we swore in Doug yesterday, and it was just as full. I wish we would have sold seats. Maybe we could have financed the new police department. So I'm going to give it to Doug, and he'll go over a couple of accolades as well. So, Doug?
Thank you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the guy whose shoes I'm going to try to fill, and it's pretty impressive here. So, 1989, Chief Kimball, Keith Kimball to many of us, he graduated from the Illinois State University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice sciences. In 1990, he was hired on with the Bettendorf Police Department. He had numerous responsibilities over the years. He started out, like most of us do, on patrol. He was a DARE officer. He was actually Ashley Guffey, Officer Ashley Guffey is in here somewhere. Her DARE officer, and Sergeant Jeff Buckles, DARE officer. Wow. He was our first school resource officer at the Bettendorf High School. He was a detective. He had a lot of additional duties: an evidence technician, a field training officer, a firearms instructor, I think for 30 years.
Still active.
Still active until December at least. He was a member of our emergency response unit for over 12 years. He was an operator on that team. He was a sniper on that team, a team leader on that team, an operations commander on that team. In the year 2000, he went on and was promoted to detective sergeant in investigations. In 2006, he became lieutenant of 3rd Ship Patrol. He then, in 2007, was transferred over as lieutenant of investigations. 2010, administrative lieutenant over training. 2012, he became the captain of field services, and then he oversaw all of patrol, special operations, K9, the emergency response unit, the traffic unit, our crime prevention unit, and then in 2018, he became our chief of police. He is now retiring today after 7 years as chief and 35 years with the police department. He has been extremely active in our community with numerous citizen groups. He's built a lot of personal and professional relationships, always representing the department, showcasing all the good work, and really believes that all of our community groups, our social service groups are a part of our team. He is a staunch supporter and for many decades of mental health, behavioral health services, family resources, breaking traffic, the coordinated assessment program, and many, many more. One thing that he says a lot is that he believes that we should always support all the agencies in our area because their problems are our problems. And he's always told us to go out and help anybody that calls us, do everything we can to help them out. When I think of Keith, and I think a lot of us in the department, I think of somebody who's very passionate, very inquisitive, and very caring. These traits are forever ingrained, I think, in our department. I think they'll be passed down among our teams for generations to come. When I think of legacy, I think it's not necessarily about the things that you do, but it's how you make people feel. And I think that Keith displays that. He showed his passion in a lot of ways throughout the department over the years. When we would have like a large, critical incident, he'd park around the corner because he, as the chief, he didn't necessarily want to interfere in the operation, but he wanted to be there in a moment's notice if we needed him. We wanted to make sure we had all the support. He may or may not have tried to go head on with a cartel member that was trying to flee during a accident. Search warrant. I know numerous times he'd be listening to the radio from his bed, just making sure everybody was taken care of and had what they needed. He came into work every day excited to hear about what the happenings were of the day before, what the incidents happened, what the operations were. He truly was never off the clock. He had a kind of tradition. He'd walk through every day multiple times through the patrol work area. What's going on? What do you guys got going? It wasn't because he was trying to manage it. He was genuinely interested and wanted to hear about the good work that was going on. And he would do the same in the detective bureau. He was never just an administrator. He was always a cop. You could see his desire to just want to get out in the street and make an arrest. His passion would start building as people were telling him stories, and he'd be like, "Oh, I want to get out there too." And you could just see that, and it was pretty cool. He loved to strategize about cases, what we should be doing, what we could do to get more evidence, how we can, help get justice for victims. He would dig up leads on his own, bring them in. Hey, have you guys thought about this? You thought about that? All those things were great. He cares so hard that sometimes his eyes leak. He really tries to maintain his composure, but at the same time, he's not afraid to display how much he really cares about people, his department, his officers, his community. I don't know if love is really a strong enough word to describe how he feels about everybody in this room, about the community that he represents, all the relationships that he's made. And he's also truly a cop's cop. He knows the job takes a toll on our officers. He knows that they won't always be able to go home the way they came to work that day. He knows that there's tough times ahead. He knows that there's going to be sacrifices they're going to have to make. And he knows that there's no amount of money or benefit that's going to be adequate payment for some of those stresses that they're going to have to deal with. I know that he worries a lot about all of us. He worries for the safety of everyone. I know that when he goes to bed sometimes he thinks about, did the third shifters get enough sleep that day? Are they going to fall asleep driving? Is evil going to come? Are they going to be prepared? Did he prepare them enough? He's always just been so thoughtful of all of us. Another thing that I find really interesting about him as a person is he really honors the fallen every single day. He memorializes the people who have passed on in his life on his walls, and he really carries them on his shoulders. And he makes sure that they're never forgotten. He really has poured himself into this department, and there just is no doubt that he's left his mark on all of us. We are forever grateful for all of his love and support. We wish him peace and happiness as he moves on into retirement. And we have a benevolent check for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. I'm going to give the gift that the city gives, which is a clock. And he can do whatever he wants to with it. We know, and we have a joke here that if you don't like the clock, Al Poyer will buy it for $3 and sell it for $50, or keep it and take it to his lodge in Michigan. I've been fortunate that I got to know him right from day one when we hired him, and you know, not in the same offices, but in the same building. Got to watch him mature, as Doug described. All the department heads are here today. Keith not only was a great police officer, police chief, he was a great member of the department head team for the city, and he would do whatever any department needed of him. The library, we occasionally have kids that act up, but librarians aren't necessarily trained to deal with that. Keith would go up and assist in doing that, and do so in plain clothes, not necessarily in a police outfit. He just did the right things at the right time, and to Doug's point, there's probably nobody more passionate about the world that he's in. You can see that by this room, the relationships that he's established, and the smiles that are on all of your faces today. He's touched all of our lives. He'll continue to do that because that's who he is, and that's what we love about him. He'll get a little emotional when he talks, and that's okay, as long as he doesn't do it for an hour and a half. We've got tape and stuff to get to. So thank you all for coming. We appreciate you being here. Keith, on behalf of the city, we want to present you with this clock. Everybody knows what it is. And I want you to know that he shared the love of the department with me intimately at 3 o'clock in the morning, regularly. But that was our rule was, you know, I don't need to get blindsided, and I got to let the mayor and council know what's going on. And he was always willing to do that, but he was never willing to do it until the troops were secure, or the scene was secure. He never prematurely gave me any information that would have jeopardized anybody, because that's just who he is. And I'm grateful for that as well. So, on behalf of the city, thank you very much. Thanks for everything you've done for me personally, and congratulations.
All right, we have another gift, so I don't know that we're gonna go over there. Are we okay to leave it there?
Yeah, let's just leave it there.
Yeah, so as you can see, if you get an opportunity to look, this really represents a lot of history for Keith throughout his career, from when he became an officer, through all of his promotions that we talked about, through all of his assignments, through different periods of time, different badges we've had, all kinds of different things. That's something the police department does for our retirees. We have a great lady that puts all these together for us, and that's on behalf of the department too.
Oh, thank you. Wow, thanks. Where do I even begin? And if I get something in my eye, just give me a second to clear it out. So, you know, just this shadow box, for instance, you know, just a few things. Obviously, there's a lot of meaning, but you know, there's two things on there. You know, there's an old Bettendorf police patch on it, which I never wore, but I'm a big history person. But that was given to me many years ago by Larry Ferrari, who would have wore that, and he meant a lot to me as my first third shift commander. And I thought, you know, I didn't wear that patch, but it means a lot to me, so I'm going to have that included in there. And one other thing, I ended up somehow with Mayor Ann Hutchinson's badge, Centennial badge. Yeah, we called the hubcap, the star, and it actually says Mayor Ann Hutchinson. And I thought it was fitting to also include it in there because she was the mayor that swore me in over 35 years ago. Yeah. So where do I begin? Thank you, everybody that's come here today. I know some of you have come from far places just to be here, and everybody in this room has had some influence, some impact to me, starting even before I was a police officer. You know, I don't want to take a lot of time. Just bear with me. You know, for instance, I was doing fine until Butch and Bev Kamenecki walked in the story
there is Bev and Butch were long time, residents. This was their home. Butch's dad, lived here on the old, what's it called, the Subway? Subway. Dad, we're talking back in the 50s. This was going way back. And I met Butch at a gun store, imagine that. I think you know anything about me. But Butch, at that time, I lost my father. And when I got my driver's license, I drive in from Sherrard, and Butch just always took me under his wing and just showed a lot of interest. And it was so funny because I went off to college, and I'd come back on weekends and visit. And I told him how I was going to be a cop. And Butch would be like, "You don't want to be a cop." He says, "You want to be the judge. you want to be a lawyer." He says, "You don't want to be the cop." And I'm like, "No, Butch, really, this is what I want to do." And he tried to convince me, over the years, but I think he knew in his heart this is where I was and what I wanted to do. And as anybody that serves in public service, fire, police, and federal, state, local law enforcement you have to have a passion. You have to have a passion for this profession, and from early on, I just knew that's what I was going to do. So it kind of started there. Just fate, how I was kind of connected to this community, somewhat randomly. And then a story I wanted to tell you about. So when I was finishing up college, I was doing an internship in Chicago, kind of living up there, and Tom Lemon's going to get a kick out of this. So at the time, this is way back. Remember, this is before cell phones. When you read about police applications and testing, was through the newspapers. That was literally. Well, my mom had lived in Rock Island. She worked at the Arsenal, and I was doing an internship up in Chicago, and I had put my application at Bettendorf. And by the grace of God, my mom worked with a lady by the name of Barb Shimbori. Barb Shimbori is actually Lieutenant Mark Hansen's mother, who currently still works with Davenport. And at the time, Mark Hansen and I were testing at all the area local departments, and Mark had tested also at Bettendorf. So I'm up in Chicago, Forest Park outside of Chicago in the middle of the week, and the phone rings. My mom calls me about 10 or 11 in the morning and goes, "Hey, didn't you apply for Bettendorf?" Because she knew how much I wanted to come back. And I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, Barb came to work and wondered why Mark didn't see you at the physical, or the PT test." I'm like, "It's because I didn't know about it." So I remember, I'm like, what am I going to do? It's like, I don't want to miss this opportunity. So I talk to Acting Chief Captain Lemons at the time, and the whole time I'm talking to him, like, all right, I need to be really persistent. I need to be really assertive, but I can't piss this guy off. If there's any way I can logically argue, like, why I need to have an opportunity still. So anyway, Tom and I went back. There was a lot of pauses, a lot of talking in the back, but long story short, it was just there at the time. I think the secretary at the time hadn't gotten in contact with me or notified me, and he just gets back. I'm sorry, what?
She filed everything that came on her desk.
So Tom comes back on. He says, "Can you be here? Can you be here like at 5 or 6 o'clock tonight, like the same day?" And I go, "Absolutely, I'll be there," because that was the written test. So I tell the guys in Chicago, and I'm like, "Hey, I gotta go," and they're like, "Go for it." And so I'm coming back. So I show up in the old community center, take the written test, and back then it was hundreds of people, and let me take the written test. And the nice thing is, if I would have missed that written test, I'm sure I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity. But Tom was able to see everything, and he said, "Hey, this Saturday, Davenport PD is doing their PT test at Davenport West. Meet me there, and I'll run you through the test before everybody else." So then that Saturday, I run over to Davenport West. I get to run through the PT test, pass that, and the rest is history. It's kind of fate. Things happen for a reason. And I've told Mark this, but I've always been grateful to his mother and them having that close relationship with my mom at the time, for my mom to give me that call, because she knew how much it meant for me. And so that was kind of the beginning of where it all started. Just people I recognize in this room are from federal agencies, current and retired, FBI, Secret Service, DEA, like I said, the U.S. Attorney's Office. It's just great to see those people. I've got people from the state here, state police and DCI that have come, and all our local partners, Scott County, Davenport, other chiefs and agencies here, and our first responders. And I can't thank all of you enough. I see, as I'm looking through this audience, I could literally just tell you stories after story, and I just made eye contact with somebody. Hi, Zach. But I always wanted to make a difference. That's all I wanted to do. And I see these faces, that people that I've maybe been able to help out. And I was having a conversation with Chief Scott's dad yesterday, and we were just talking about this and just how we never, as first responders, whether you're police, fire, whatever, we never truly know what an effect maybe we've had on somebody in that short period of time. A lot like that. I relate to the teaching profession because I've always thought the most noble profession, other than police officers, is teachers. And when we all can go back and we can have examples of people that just at that moment they just made a difference, and everybody in here in some way have impacted my life, made me better, made my life better because of it. I know everybody's appreciative of me today, but I'm just as much or more appreciative of all of you, that have come here today, because every one of you in some way, shape, or form has had an effect on my life and made me and who I am today. So I just thank you for that. To the City Council, thanks for all your support over the years. It truly means a lot. There's a lot of, there's city councils and things that maybe aren't always as appreciative, in this country. We've kind of been through the ringer over these last 7 years. We're on the right path back, but it's been a tough few years when I started as chief, but we made it through it together, and if it wasn't for the men and women on my department, I wouldn't have been able to make it through it, because I knew I had to be strong so we could be strong. To Decker, obviously, I can't say enough about Decker. Just as a leader, as a city, it speaks for himself, and I know you all know what I'm talking about, but when you become chief, you truly don't know what it's like to be chief, and you truly don't know what it means to have somebody support you like Decker. I could go in and I could cut loose, tell him really what I thought. Obviously, I knew I could drop the F-bomb because he drops the F-bomb all the time.
This isn't about me.
But I always knew, and he knew, and he understood me. Just let him talk, just let him get it out. And but in the end, even though he may not have always agreed with my decision, we had a good talk, and then he would just say, "Go on, do what you need to do," and always respected my decision, and never micromanaged me in any way. And as a chief, you really appreciate that, because it's a challenging job, and just knowing that he always had my back. Mayor, you know, you're our cheerleader. You're, like I said, you're passionate. You know, poor Denise, when we were doing the mayor's video last week, by the time we got done, and like I said, if you haven't seen the video, we look over at Denise, and Denise is just, you know, she's the one filming it. We were trying to keep it together, but as you know, I'm pretty emotional, and it's been a roller coaster ride these last few weeks, and especially cleaning out my office and locker, and this morning, just people reaching out, texting me, emails, and I'm starting to respond. I'm in my office by myself, and I've got my phone, and I'm doing the voice to text thing. And as I'm doing it, I just start sobbing. I just break out sobbing. Oh my gosh! But anyway, I don't know. I don't know how I can thank you enough for this community to support our police department. But most importantly, the thing I care about most is our officers and men and women that serve our department, but all the departments. And you know, there's a lot of responsibility, and I'm not perfect. I didn't always do it right, but when you get that call in the morning, you know, the first thing I need to know is our officers okay, because after that we'll figure it out. And that was always the first question I would ask. And I knew we were gonna be okay. And you know, God forbid, you know, we haven't lost an officer to in line of duty death, and that's our job. That's our job as chiefs. That's our jobs as leaders within our own department, to give our officers the best equipment, the best training, the best support to keep them safe so they can do that job every day. And I will put, again, and this isn't an ego thing, it's not a competition thing, but I'll put our officers equal up against any other department in the United States. You know, I'll put our investigators when we have to investigate serious crimes, and you know, our relationships we have with you know, I've got former Davenport Police Chief Paul Sikorsky, current Chief Bladel, and it's just nice to know though Davenport has been so great of keeping, and along with Scott County, you know, just keeping our partnership and working together, and not just in Scott County, but on both sides of the river with the other chiefs. But especially, I really appreciate, you know, Davenport PD and the support I've gotten from both former chief and current chief, because we vent a lot. We could always call each other at any time and for therapy. Oh boy. Last thing, I'm gonna put. I want to thank my family, who's here. I got my brother Mark, my sister-in-law Michelle. I've got my oldest nephew Kyle and his son Benjamin, who's my great nephew. You know, family is really important. We, just because of the circumstances we've been dealt, this is really the only family I have here. We have here, and through the last years, it's been nice to spend more time with them, because that's the family I have. Quick story, Benjamin. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but obviously Ben is a very mature 5-year-old, and he was having conversation with his dad one day, and his dad told me this later, because he knew, obviously Benjamin knew I was a cop, and he knew that I was going to be retiring soon, and so they were having conversations. And if I think I get this right, at some point Benjamin asked his dad, he goes, Dad, he goes, does this mean Uncle Keith's not going to be cool anymore? And that is so cute, Ben. It's just funny how innocent 5-year-olds, and Ben, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be even cooler now that and lastly, most importantly, I'd like to thank my wife, Christy. We've been married over 20 years now, probably close to more like 24 years together. And as any law enforcement knows, I know that I try my best, but she's put up with a lot. Obviously, she's been in this profession too, but this job is hard, and to all of the first responders, we all know we go home to our families at night, and that is the most important. And I'll be honest, there's times I probably haven't always handled myself the best at home, taking work home with me, but she's always been there for my support. I thank you so much for being there, listening to me, putting up with me, and I'm going to try and do better as I go forward. So. With that, I think I'm good, and I held it better together than I thought it was. But thanks for your patience, and thanks. And I'm not moving out of the area. Please keep in contact. I'm always going to be in this community, and you can always reach out. And like I said, I'm going to be around. So I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm just going to say see you later. We'll see you around. Thank you.